If the sum total of your ambitions is to ride your KTM 790 or 890 Adventures or Adventure Rs or your Husqvarna Norden 901s on surfaced roads, then you will likely have a blast. They're brilliant road bikes straight out of the box, so go ahead and knock yourself out. However, if you want to send them where the roads are unsurfaced, where you might encounter rocks, mud, sand, ruts, fords, falls, technical climbs, enraged walkers and get-off-my-land farmer palmers, you are, in my humble opinion, going to need to beef things up a bit. If you hit a steep rocky climb like this one with enough impetus to make the top, by the time you get there, there's a risk your stock machine could have sustained a spot of damage. You might well find yourself in some out-of-the-way place, quite possibly immobile with oil pouring from a smashed engine case, or deflated tyres due to rock-deformed rims, or perhaps snapped levers, courtesy of a minor fall, or possibly you'll have experienced frustrating stalls caused by the unhelpful stock gearing or the stiff cable clutch actuation. I accept that all these calamities could just as well be below average rider skills, and in any case, nobody is suggesting that any of these disasters will definitely happen to you, but the potential is there. This video will show you a few simple modifications made to my 2020 790 Adventure R, which aim to make the machine usable for proper adventuring into the unknown and robust enough to cope with the rough and inevitable tumbles that come with life away from the blacktop. I'm assuming that most, if not all, the modifications shown in this video apply to the other models I mentioned earlier, but if in doubt as to whether you should trust me, and you definitely shouldn't, feel free to consult the interweb, your dealer, or a Ouija board, depending on how you prefer to research things. This is my good friend Mark on his 350. Mark benefits from a lifetime of trials riding experience, and I benefit from his infinite reserves of patience with my filming faffery. He also manhandles me up hills when I get stuck, and helps restore me and my bike to the vertical when, as happens with increasing and alarming regularity, I render the whole plot horizontal. Put simply, no Mark, no video. Okay, so on to the most obvious starting point. This laughable object is the stock engine protection or skid plate. KTM will always want to make the most off-road capable machines when competing with other manufacturers in any adventure market sector. Producing the lightest weight bike is a crucial factor in achieving this, of course. But offering a bash plate barely thicker than a baked bean can, and one that only covers part of the items threatened by protruding rock outcrops and flying debris, is surely just the silly pursuit of winning the on-paper stats wars. It might make the marketing department happy, but what about real-world usability? Worse than the thin and short characteristic, this plate is screwed directly into the very thing it's supposed to be protecting. I suspect this is not entirely KTM's fault. This class of machine demands design compromises because it's trying to be both a road and an off-road device. A road rider might want to specify the optional centre stand, and this has to be fitted so that it can pivot on a bar that passes through a hole located at the base of each foot peg hanger. Those same holes should really have been used to fit a bracket from which a full-length, thick enough protection plate could be hung, removing the need to bolt anything into the casings, protecting the whole vulnerable underbelly, and tying the foot peg hangers both to each other and directly to the front of the bike, rendering the entire structure rigid. This last point matters because it would mean the foot peg hangers could not move independently of each other in the event of a rock strike on the base of one side, causing a rearward movement of the hanger, which has been known to tear open crankcases due to a bolt that passes through the hanger and into the case. Most riders intending to head off-road would avoid a centre stand anyway, weighing the convenience of easy wheel removal and chain adjustment against the heavy stand being liable to bounce down, snagging a tree root, pitching the rider clean over the bars and directly to the delights of hospital food, assuming a bed becomes available. The need to offer an optional centre stand is typical of the sort of compromise manufacturers of dual sport middleweight adventure bikes face. So it's not really their fault that the net result is invariably somewhere between a perfect but unsurprisingly mythical unicorn and a pile of rocking horse. So, enter the Ian Chappell engine protection plate. There are a few different plates on the market, mostly from the USA. The AXP, for example, is a plastic offering, but these have been known to split with the right kind of impact. Also, this requires removal of the KTM fuel tank guards, which have been tested to destruction by the manufacturer, and which I would trust with my, well, fuel tank. Other American offerings are heavy metal things with heavy metal names, but none I have seen compare with Ian Chappell's superbly well designed and beautifully manufactured component. Whichever way you swung when we had the opportunity back in 2016 to vote for something unmentionable, what we need now is to be spending our hard-earned on British-designed, British-made kit, and when it's as good as this, why wouldn't you? The thick end of 300 quid, reasonably simple to fit and worth every penny. Next up, and an equally obvious requirement, are replacement handguards. The stock items are these, and come without a frame to secure them to the bar ends. Every fall, and you know there's going to be them, therefore risks a snapped clutch or brake lever, depending which side you like to have your disasters. KTM and Bark Busters offer what is probably the same item, namely the KTM handguard kit. Power parts number 6350297900EB. That EB suffix gets you the orange ones. Other colours are available. £72.25 in late 2020. That's a bit of a salty price, but they're properly robust and must have saved me at least 400 quid already. If you ride with others and there's roosting afoot, a replacement headlight unit will require taking out a mortgage. Put it like that, and £72.25, yep, it's the same price as the handguard kit, for a headlight protection shield seems completely reasonable. Power parts number 635149999033. Now then, when the terrain gets a little more technical, you're sometimes going to need to ride at trials bike speeds, modulating your progress with clutch rather than throttle control to clamber up and over obstacles, for example. This means you want super light clutch actuation requiring no more than one finger, and you want the gear ratios to be perfect so you're not stalling and falling over when terra firma is further away from your boot than anticipated. So you definitely don't want your manufacturer to have given you gearing that helps the bike pass emission and noise legislation and gives high top speed on surfaced roads when it compromises the performance of the machine as soon as you get into the dirt. But that's what you've got, and again, this isn't really KTM's fault. Anyway, the solution is twofold: cheap, simple, and absolutely transforms the bike into a truly capable device for even the gnarliest of unsurfaced roads. First, you need to swap the stock damped 16-tooth drive sprocket for a 15-tooth version, which is KTM power parts number 580330291115 and costs £26.78 if you're living in 2020. And the second thing you need is to do what trials bike riders have been doing for years. That is, replace the stock clutch actuation arm for a longer one. This has the effect of making clutch operation super light and massively broadens the friction zone, allowing control that you just won't believe. Fortunately, there's no need to start hammering bits of metal into shape to achieve this, as our friends say have produced the Camel ADV one-finger clutch version 2, available from Rugged Roads, which is their product code CADV7900FC-OR. And at 2020, that costs £73.90. Hello, donks. Now that price might seem a bit salty once again, but along with the 15-tooth sprocket, it's like a night and day improvement. Now when you stall it, it's definitely your fault. The next modification is not strictly necessary for dirt riding, but for me it's a must-have, and that is a set of rally foot pegs. KTM power parts number is 601039400000, and in 2020 these cost £116.06. If you're wearing proper dirt bike boots, and you really should be, rather than your insanely overpriced waterproof adventure slippers, then the stock foot pegs are not going to be big enough or grippy enough. The consequences of losing grip on a foot peg in a rut, for example, can be a foot flicked backwards, leading to a nasty bend-it-like Beckham breakage and yet more hospital food. Another modification that's non-essential for going off-piste, but as an almost permanently lost soul I certainly need, is a GPS mount. I use a Garmin 600 series Montana, but whatever your GPS unit, there's a couple of things you'll need to neatly hardwire it to your bike. One is a GPS bracket. KTM power parts number for that is 6251 299 2044, and in 2020 they cost £43.10. There's other brackets on the market and maybe they're better, I do not know because I've never tried them. I just got lazy and bought the power parts one. Anyway, to this you'll have to add the powered mount for your particular GPS to be hardwired into the bike's auxiliary power points located amongst the spaghetti behind the headlight. My Montana required a rugged amps hole pattern wired mount, which comes direct from Garmin if you want it to, and it's their product code 01-11654-01, and it cost £43.99. So the total cost to stop getting lost is therefore £87.09.
In 2020.
The stock wheels with their tubeless tyres are no doubt excellent for surfaced road use, but many friends have warned me that the standard rims are simply not up to snuff, some failing on encountering their very first rocks. KTM do offer a stronger rim in their power parts catalogue, but these are dirt stars and have something of a reputation for internal corrosion even after a year or so of use, especially when a lot of river crossings plus salty winter northern European roads are added into the mix. Problems have also been encountered with the stock brake rotors rattling loose and not being too good, especially by those in the rally community, many of whom favour these bikes for their sporting ambitions. So, taking advice from various friends, all of whom know a lot more than I do, I went for Hahn hubs, complete with cush drive rear, laced to XL rims via heavy-duty spokes and fitted with Australian Motomaster disc rotors. This meant I would have a trail-ready dirt wheel set which I could quickly and easily swap for a road wheel set for tarmac tours and blasts without having to swap out brake discs, tyres, tubes, ABS rings or anything else other than the wheels themselves, both sets being all built up and ready to go. Following experimentation with a variety of tyre combinations, I've ended up with Motos Tractionator tyres using Michelin Ultra heavy-duty tubes on the dirt set and Metzler Turrent's Next tubeless tyres on the road wheels. The Motos Tractionator tyres, by the way, come from Adventure Spec, another UK company who also produce excellent adventure riding/camping clothing. Worth checking them out if you haven't met them already. Anyway, the dirt wheels were supplied and built up by Central Wheel Components in Birmingham. You may know them as SM Pro, and they provided superb service and advice, and considering what I ended up with, were very keenly priced and super helpful during and after the sale. The 2020 cost for the wheels, brake rotors including original Mitas tyres which have now been replaced, and the UHD tubes, the whole lot cost £1,418.99. I did need to purchase ABS sensor rings, which are KTM stock codes 6034202000 and 6014202110 for the front and rear wheels, and they came in at £27.86 each. Again, that's a 2020 price. You might have spotted the missing item required to allow the wheel sets to be changed without any faffing about. If you didn't, shame on you. Yes, it's a rear sprocket, and I bought a composite alley steel item from Super Sprox. This has the same number of teeth as the standard sprocket, and that came in at £47.45 in 2020. There's more. The stock seat is a good height for my 6'3" frame, but it's brutal on the butt on a longer trek. I bought and fettled a second-hand KTM rally seat, which puts me higher off the ground, increasing those innocent 0 mph topples when the ground isn't quite where I think it will be. But the rally seat allows a range of rider movement along its full length, and crucially is much more padded. I should have bought a new one, as once properly refurbished, the second-hander worked out more expensive than the 200 odd quid a new one would have cost, but hey, it's all lessons, ain't it? For luggage, I bought an R&G rear rack to carry camping equipment or whatever. R&G Ref AR000-1S1. This was £83.33 back in 2020. I added the Wolfman panniers that once lived on my KTM 350 EXC and made a harness for the BMW 1200 GS tank bag I won in a competition BMW ran a few decades ago, so that it would fit on the 790 as well. I've had KTM heated grips fitted at £180 plus a couple of hours labour. These have been great through this winter, but if I run a camera or charge a phone from the 12-volt socket at the same time as running the grips, the circuit's 10-amp fuse blows every time. The alternative auxiliary socket is already running the GPS, and the underseat auxiliaries use the same fuse, so I've just got to live with the problem until I figure a workaround. The original mirrors have been crashed off, so I'm currently running the set from Mark's 350, which he has kindly donated. When I've destroyed those, I'll save up and buy a pair of double takes. I cut away and drilled out a fair amount of the drive sprocket cover to help with cleaning and stop mud clogging up in there, and make tooth inspection easier. The whole job took less than an hour, but looks like it took about 7.5 minutes. Lastly, I wasted £33.33 on a pair of crash bungs from R&G which fit in the rear wheel spindle. Due to their location, the crash bung's own paddock stand bobbins don't allow for wheel removal or chain adjustment. Also, I rarely fit the bungs as the panniers are almost always on, and the bike is quite comfy harmlessly landing on them whenever I fall or drop it. To facilitate wheel removal and chain adjustment, I also bought a pair of paddock stand bobbins for the tappings that live in the swing arms for that very purpose. These were 16 quid off that eBay bloke. Word to the wise, don't ride with the paddock stand bobbins. I can't say it. Paddock stand bobbins. The paddock stand bobbins. Don't ride with the paddock stand bobbins fitted, because if you crash they can snap off inside the tapping, and then they're a complete to remove. Right, time for some totting up. Oh God. Strap in, Nige. The bike was a 2020 790 Adventure R ex-dealer demonstrator with 619 miles on the clock, and that cost me that cost me £9,750. Now the mods totaled £2,993.15. Pence! So that's £12,743.15 for a bike that'll go anywhere an EXC Enduro KTM will, but also carry you, a friend, your luggage, your camping gear, anywhere in the world, and only requires a service every 10,000 miles. I mean, come on! The 2022 KTM 500 EXCF will cost you the thick end of 10k. Add a nav tower, a bigger tank, a cush drive hub and a bearable seat, some decent lights, and you'll see no change from 14k, and you'll still have to change the oil and filter every 20 hours, and visit an osteopath every 30. Yes, it'll be about 70 kilograms lighter than the 790, and that's a huge deal for sure, but I highly doubt it'll be as much fun, particularly on those unavoidable tarmac stretches that make up most of our mileage, or at least they do in the UK. Well, I genuinely budgeted 3k before I started the modifications, and I've never actually worked that out before. £6.85 under budget. I'm going to go and buy a pint. And in the meantime, thank you very much indeed for watching this. I hope you find it useful. Please do the likey, subscribey, notify thing if you so desire, and don't if you don't. That's about it. Till next time.
Bye.